There are a lot of things wrong with this scene. This is Dee Gordon, the Marlins' second baseman. He bats left-handed, but here he's standing on the right side of the plate. He's not wearing the batting helmet he normally wears. He's wearing one that barely fits him. This is Bartolo Colon, the New York Mets pitcher. He's 43 years old, the oldest player in the majors by a significant margin. He's about to throw an 85-mile-an-hour pitch right down the heart of the plate, a fastball in name only. Just about a minute later, Dee Gordon will be running the bases after hitting a home run. He doesn't usually do that. He's only hit 8 home runs in his entire MLB career across over 2,000 at-bats. But today, he will add to that total. He's going to hit a ball farther than he's hit a ball in his life, even in batting practice. As he rounds the bases, you'll notice Gordon isn't wearing his normal jersey. Instead, he dons a jersey with the number 16 and the name Fernandez on the back. All of the Marlins are wearing that jersey. The thing that's the most wrong with this image is who is not here. Jose Fernandez, the Marlins pitcher, number 16, died the day before this in a boating accident. He would have been pitching today, and surely, as he always did when his teammates were batting, he would have been cheering them on from the dugout. Instead, Dee Gordon steps up to bat with the pain of loss in his chest. Baseball is a game made up of distinct actions. A pitcher throws the ball, a batter tries to hit it, either does or doesn't, and then on to the next pitch. Ball, strike, ball in play, outs or runs, one moment at a time. That dynamic is crucial to the flow of baseball, and that dynamic is crucial to this specific moment, because the game paused. And for the next few minutes, this September baseball game would be bigger than the sport itself. It would remind us that the ties that bind us are the most important bonds that we have. Six days prior to this, Jose Fernandez stepped onto the pitcher's mound for his 29th start of the 2016 MLB season, and he's been great. He sports an ERA under 3, has faced 710 batters, and consistently went 7 innings a game. He's only allowed 58 earned runs over the course of the entire season. Even at the young age of 24, he's the cornerstone of a Miami Marlins rotation that has struggled with consistency, but has flashed highs and lows. The Marlins are solidly in contention for a wildcard spot, but they're not doing great by any means. They've won almost exactly as many games as they have lost. But this season wasn't really meant to be a contending one. It was more for the Marlins to focus on their young players, many of whom are some of the most exciting in the league. Between Christian Yelich, who will be named the NL MVP just 2 years from now, Giancarlo Stanton, and Marcell Ozuna, the Miami Marlins young core is full of potential. But the most exciting member of the Marlins roster might be their young ace, Jose Fernandez. He was just 20 years old, barely out of his teenage years when his career in the majors began. In his first game, pitching against the New York Mets, he struck out 8 batters over 5 innings, just a glimpse into his overpowering ability. Armed with a fastball that reached nearly 100 miles an hour and rode up and in on hitters, paired with a slurve with an unfair amount of break, Jose generated tons of whiffs and tons of strikeouts. And when he sprinkled in his changeup and his sinker, hitters were left guessing. During his rookie year in 2013, he pitched a 2.19 ERA, K'ing 187 batters in just 172 innings. He faced 681 hitters, and 187 of them walked back to the dugout with nothing but a strikeout to show for it. He was the runaway National League Rookie of the Year, and at just 20 years old was already in the Cy Young conversation, finishing in 3rd place for the Preeminent Pitching Award. To put that into context, he couldn't legally enter a bar to celebrate his 3rd place Cy Young finish. Jose's mechanics were quite imperfect, and unsurprisingly his arm eventually gave out. In 2014, he went in for Tommy John surgery, ending his sophomore season almost as soon as it began. But after returning to the mound in 2015, he didn't miss a beat. In 2016, Jose Fernandez was one of the most dominant pitchers alive. Even amidst a landscape of pitchers filled with titans like Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Chris Sale, Clayton Kershaw, Jose Fernandez still stood out. That year, he struck out 253 batters, setting a Marlins franchise record, and he led all of Major League Baseball in strikeouts per 9 innings. He was a pure strikeout pitcher, aiming to sit down the other team rather than just get through innings. He shattered hitters' confidence. Out there on the mound, he had the kind of calm dominance that was easy to watch. Someone who was exactly where he was meant to be. Even if a few hitters got on base, it didn't matter. When the inning, as usual, ended with another strikeout, Jose would celebrate, pump his fist, and sometimes even smile at the batter as if to say, "Wasn't that fun?" He was paradoxically ferocious and joyful. On one occasion, he pitched a winning game over the Los Angeles Dodgers at home, and then got a chair and sat down and watched the post-game fireworks show. Jose played with hope, with earnestness, and his teammates loved him for it. You could see the dugout come alive when Jose was on the mound. He'd crack jokes between innings and bark encouragement to his batters. He celebrated his teammates like a crazy person. It's rare in baseball for a pitcher to feel like the emotional center of a clubhouse, but that was Jose. The vibrance he played with was thrilling for fans of him, and I'm sure grating for his opponents that he was beating. He never muted his boisterous personality. Jordan Rittercon for The Ringer wrote that he heard 3 different people call Jose Fernandez cocky, and not a single one of them meant it as an insult. He stood and admired his first career MLB home run, and when the Atlanta Braves took exception to that, the benches cleared for a relatively tame brouhaha. Jose turned and beamed at his bench. Still, even in a tense moment, just having fun. Jose just kept on being Jose. The joy that he brought to baseball was fitting. Every pitch in the major leagues carried this sense of perseverance, like he was finally doing the thing he loved most in the world. The thing that seemed so unlikely a few years prior. Jose Fernandez was born in Santa Clara, Cuba. He played baseball whenever he could find a stick and stone on the ground that resembled a bat and ball. He played with his friends when he could find a group to play with, and he played alone when he couldn't. Baseball was a welcome distraction from his life in a country struggling with poverty and hardship. Fernandez's stepfather, Ramon Jimenez, was a doctor in Cuba who decided to defect from the country. It took him many years and 14 tries to get to Florida, but in 2005, he made it. Jose and his mother and sister longed to follow him. On 3 different occasions, Jose boarded a boat to leave his country. Each time, though, ended in failure. Jose remembers getting close and seeing the lights of Miami. At the time, he didn't know much about the Florida city. He knew that other Cubans had defected there, and he knew Miami had baseball, but that was it. And that would be the end of that story, as the U.S. Coast Guard intercepted the boat of defectors. That landed the young teenager in jail. There, he was locked in a small space with the other inmates. He was 14 years old. He remembers seeing inmates killing each other. After he was released, he didn't lose his focus on making it to America. His mother, sister, and himself boarded a boat for the 4th time. For this attempt, they had a longer route in mind that would avoid the threat of the U.S. Coast Guard, but would force them to contend with much rougher seas. In the dead of night, with waves thrashing against their boat in the Gulf of Mexico, someone was swept overboard. Jose saw the figure in the ocean and immediately jumped into the black water. Fernandez remembers that I dove to help a person, not thinking who that person was. Imagine when I realized it was my own mother. He put his mother on his back and fought through 8-foot-tall waves to pull her back to the boat. The family made it to land. They finally settled in America. Within a week, Jose had found a local baseball diamond so he could spend his days at the only place that felt familiar. He had no friends, spoke little English, and still felt like an outsider. But on the field, things made sense again. Soon he met a pitching coach at that diamond. After seeing Jose throw, the coach agreed to work with him free of charge. After months of grueling training, Jose showed up at the local high school baseball tryouts and was placed in the final group of the day almost as an afterthought. But when the radar gun read 94 miles an hour, he wasn't an afterthought anymore. On the Alonzo High School team, he helped the school win 2 6A state championships, including throwing 2 no-hitters in his senior year. He planned to play college baseball at the University of South Florida. But then, a man named Chuck Hernandez watched him play during his senior year of high school. Chuck was the pitching coach for the Florida Marlins in the major leagues. And when Chuck saw Jose pitch, he turned around and made a phone call to USF. He told the college coaches, "You're not getting that guy. He ain't going to no college." Jose Fernandez was selected 14th overall in the draft by the Florida Marlins. He was given a $2 million signing bonus. He had made it. But far from resting on his laurels, Jose kept charging. He took the mound in the minor leagues for the first time in 2012. His first big test, playing ball in the American minor leagues. And immediately it was clear he was in the wrong place. He was far, far too good for the minors. In the 2012 Single-A season, Jose Fernandez pitched 25 times. Across those starts, he posted a 1.75 ERA and struck out more than 10 batters per 9 innings. He was named the Marlins Minor League Pitcher of the Year and the team's top prospect. The next year in 2013, 2 of the Marlins' major league rotation members went down with injury. After a phone call with the Marlins team owner, Jose's minor league career ended. He remembers crying. Just a few days later, he was standing on a big league mound in Miami, staring down the New York Mets. We already talked about how that start went, a 5-inning gem against the New York Mets. He was clearly ready for the majors, and he never looked back. Rookie of the Year in 2013, and despite getting surgery, All-Star in 2016. But through it all, Jose never forgot who he was or where he came from. He became an American citizen in 2015, grinning ear to ear in the courtroom, yet he carried Cuba with him everywhere he went. And a good representation of what makes America truly great, he was a proud American and a proud Cuban. In the Miami community, the most Cuban city in the country, he showed up for youth clinics and neighborhood events. Jose understood that his story was bigger than baseball, that his success belonged to everyone who had made that journey and everyone that wished that they could. CBS Sports' Mike Axia summed it up saying, "For many, Fernandez's baseball career will be just a footnote in his legacy." His starts were a local celebration known as Jose Day, where the Miami Stadium, a famously barren home field, was loud and boisterous, and Jose responded with a career record of 29-2 when pitching in front of the Miami fans. His joy fed off their joy. Even his pitching quirks tied him back to his heritage. Instead of a rosin bag, Jose scooped up the dirt from the mound between pitches, rubbing it between his fingers like he had back home. Outside of the game, he was a proud family man. He talked constantly about his grandmother, who had stayed behind in Cuba. For years, he kept photos of her with him and missed her more than anything. When she was finally able to come watch him pitch in America, Jose broke down and embraced his abuela in front of thousands of fans. And just hours before what would be his final start, Jose posted a photo on Instagram announcing that he and his girlfriend were expecting a child. For a man who lived his life with his heart wide open, it was another glimpse of that joy spilling into the future. And so we're back to Jose's pitching performance from earlier in the video. Remember, he had already had an amazing season. And that night against the Washington Nationals, he pitched as someone with a little more to play for. In the first inning, he allowed a Stephen Drew double, but was able to leave him stranded on base.
Vicinity as well, and it's Prado who makes the catch. And Jose through the first, looking sharp.
Then 3 up, 3 down in the second inning. In both the third and the fourth innings, no National reached base, as Fernandez sat 6 more Washington batters down. In the fifth, 3 down with 2 strikeouts. Same story in the sixth. And again, 3 straight outs in the seventh.
He's retired 19 straight. Prado cuts in front on the run. Got him at first. 20 in a row for Jose.
Since that first inning double, Jose Fernandez had pitched 7 innings of not just no hit, but perfect ball.
He's throwing his fastball where he wants to for the most part tonight.
He led off the first with a strikeout that was clinched with a nasty breaking ball.
That's number 11.
He got into a little trouble after 2 Washington singles, but after MVP candidate Daniel Murphy grounded out to end the 8th, Jose Fernandez sat down to massive applause.
Very good changeup.
8 shutout innings, a dozen strikeouts, and he works out of trouble and gets his biggest outs here in the 8th.
8 innings, 3 hits, no runs, and 12 strikeouts. I hate that that was his final start. He was 24 years old. He looked like he was still on the ascent of his career, and certainly, especially given the news that he shared that morning, he was still growing into his life. 5 days later, Jose Fernandez, Eduardo Rivero, and Emilio Jesus Macias were found dead after a boating accident killed the 3 men. The game that night was postponed. Jose was supposed to be Miami's starting pitcher against the New York Mets. The next night, the 2 teams lined up along the baselines in Miami, heads bowed as the stadium fell silent. Fans held signs, Cuban flags, and photos, a city mourning one of its own. On the field, the Marlins each wore a jersey with the number 16 on the back, Jose's number. Dee Gordon in particular, the Marlins star second baseman, looked shattered. The two were inseparable on the team plane, in the clubhouse, on off days. Dee once said that if you spent 5 minutes with Jose, you couldn't help but love him. Unprompted, the New York Mets crossed over the field to hug the Marlins in support. Jose's Marlins teammates surrounded the mound where number 16 was painted. The pitching mound where Jose Fernandez once bounced with energy. They pointed to the sky. They touched the dirt. It felt strange and fitting all at once. Strange because baseball, after all, is just a game, smaller than life. And yet it's also not. It's the heartbeat of many, including what was the heartbeat of Jose. The New York Mets manager Terry Collins said it well. One thing Jose Fernandez epitomized is that he loved the game. That's why he played it like he did. Therefore, in respect for him and his honor, we've got to go out there and respect the game and go play it. So, a baseball game, Miami's first without Jose, was to be played tonight. Dee Gordon could barely stand out there, but still took his spot at second base. Zooming out really quick, for the Mets, this game mattered for their season as a whole. They were fighting for a wild card spot in the playoffs, and this was September baseball. Every game matters a lot to determine a potential playoff spot. Simply, they needed a win. On the mound for the Mets that night was all-star Bartolo Colon. He is 43. It's going to be his 499th career start. The Dominican has been pitching for well over a decade and has seen a lot of players play baseball during his illustrious major league career. So it seems fitting that Bartolo was on the mound that night. The oldest pitcher in baseball, carrying the weight of facing a team grieving the loss of their young star. It's difficult to get Jose's legacy really right. In the months following, details about the boating accident that killed Jose, Eduardo Rivero, and Emilio Jesus Macias emerged. Investigators concluded Jose Fernandez was piloting the boat and was found to have nearly double the legal limit of blood alcohol content of 0.147%, as well as cocaine in his system. Additionally, he was piloting the vessel extremely fast, at night, in an area with known hazards. These findings are heavy, especially as I try and tell the story that's a lot about eulogizing Jose Fernandez. It's tempting to want to gloss over the messier details, but I don't want to do that. So that is the details. They don't change what Jose meant to the Marlins or to Miami or to baseball or to Cuba, but they do complicate the story. I don't think it's right to paint Jose Fernandez as just a reckless criminal, just as I don't think it's right to paint him as someone who only ever brought joy to everyone around him. Humans just aren't simple like that, as much as it would be easy to think that way, especially when it's about someone who is a public figure. It's true that Jose Fernandez made a terrible, terrible decision, one that cost his life and the lives of 2 other men. And it's also true that Jose Fernandez brought a lot of good to the world during his life and brought joy to many. That joy was what was most prominently on the minds of everyone in baseball on the night of September 26th, 2016, and most of all on the minds of the New York Mets and the Miami Marlins. The Marlins' first batter of the night comes up to bat. Leading off was Dee Gordon. The day prior, when the news broke of Fernandez's death, Dee went to the stadium to pay tribute to his fallen friend. He stood there in silence. Tonight, he stands on the right-hand side of the batter's box, and this too was a tribute. This is an at-bat from Jose's first game back after surgery in 2015. He hit a home run, and the fans loved it. Notice he's standing on the right side of the plate. In 2016 against the Mets, the normally left-hitting Dee Gordon stands where his friend did and wears his friend's batting helmet. After Colon's first pitch, one where Dee mimicked Jose's batting stance, including his idiosyncratic front knee bend, Dee moves to the other side of the plate and switches helmets.
Well, Dee Gordon just took the first pitch as a right-hand batter. Dee Gordon's a left-hand hitter. And in tribute to Jose Fernandez, who was a right-hand hitter and a very good hitting pitcher, he took the first pitch of the game as a right-hand batter. And now back to work.
A few days prior to this, Jose Fernandez was giving Dee Gordon a hard time for never hitting home runs. That's not to say Dee is a bad hitter. In fact, he's one of the best at making contact. He won the batting title just a year ago with a .333 batting average. He's good at hitting the baseball, just not hitting it far. In his major league career, he has hit a bomb only 8 times, and this year it has been exactly 0 times. Across his career, Dee Gordon has only hit a home run once every 269 at-bats. Dee Gordon responded to Jose's jokes by telling his friend that he was saving his home runs for a big moment. The pitch that the veteran Met is about to throw will be an 85-mile-an-hour pitch right down the heart of a plate with no movement, no break, just flat middle. He'd probably never admit that he threw an uncompetitive pitch on purpose. But for the 43-year-old who had seen everything that there was to see in the game of baseball, maybe he had other things on his mind than throwing a perfect strike. After the game, the Mets would lose. Colon would say, "I feel like it was great for them that they were able to win. You know what though? I would have really enjoyed if it was Fernandez who got the win over me." It's a night when all of baseball and the sports world is standing still to remember the vibrant, uplifting life of Jose Fernandez. A man who traveled across dangerous waters to make it to America and become a U.S. citizen. A pitcher who played baseball first by himself on small fields in Cuba, then with a team on slightly bigger fields in high school, then on the biggest stage in the MLB. A player who was the most exciting young pitcher in the world, and more importantly, was beloved and revered by his fans, by baseball players, by fellow Cuban Americans, and by his teammates. Dee Gordon stands, waiting for a pitch. On his mind is his friend who passed away less than 48 hours ago. As the pitch comes to the plate, he swings.
He cracks one to deep right field. Back goes Bruce to the track, looks up, and that ball is out of here into the second deck. The first home run of the season for Dee Gordon. I don't care who you are, who you root for, or how badly you want the Mets to be in the postseason. That was phenomenal.
One at a time, he's embraced by his team. Dee remembers that he wasn't able to think about much as he rounded the bases, but wondered why Jose wasn't on top of the steps cheering for him. After the game, Dee was interviewed about his night.
Rich, thank you very much. Dee, How did you manage to play this game tonight?
To be honest with you, I don't know how any of us got out there and played today.
Somebody helping you out tonight?
Man, I told the boys, if y'all don't believe in God, y'all might as well start. You know, I ain't never hit a ball that far, even in BP.
I know. I think Jose's proud of you guys. That's all I could say. I know it's the toughest, probably game, one of the toughest days of your life. I'm sure that is.
Yeah, man, very tough, man. But it's only a fraction of how his family feel. We just think it's extended family, and I just pray for them at this time.
Thanks for your time, D. All right, class for you to come on there. Dee Gordon, guys, back to you.
Jose Fernandez does not have a legacy that's easy to tie up in a tidy package. He inspired many and was a proud son of Cuba and a proud citizen of the US. It is a tragedy that he died at just 24 years old. Yes, he made a terrible decision, but that doesn't mean that parts of his memory should not still live on. He was a man full of life and joy, and as we remember his spirit and see evidence of the many that he impacted, we are reminded that we must embrace the moments that we do get together. After the game, a grieving Marlins team hugged one another. They looked one another in the eye and told each other it was going to be okay. They surrounded the pitcher's mound where they left the game ball and all of their caps. As we look upon the Marlins holding one another, we are reminded that the ties that bind us together are the strongest ties we can have. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did and you're still here, there's plenty more on my channel that you can check out like this, especially the series that I've been making about the biggest sports stories in 2016 specifically. I got a few videos about that. I'll see you in the next one.